Hello folks, welcome to Lexi IS Academy. In this video, we will be discussing a current affair topic presented to you by your faculty Sushma KP. So what is the topic that we will be discussing today? Venezuela as a moment of reckoning for global south. What exactly has happened? Recently, your US attacked Venezuela under codename Operation Absolute Resolve. Now, this attack is not an isolated event because this has brought your global south under questioning about power, sovereignty, and even the future global order. So, what exactly has happened? Recently, your US government has carried out strikes attacks on your Venezuela, where it has abducted or it has brought about Nicolás Maduro, your Venezuelan president, and his wife out of Venezuela to face crimes in US for narco terrorism. Now, this particular action, which was carried out by USA, did not have permission from United Nations, or it did not have international verifications, nor did it have a multilateral approval, which means many countries' approval was not there here. Your US just made claims that yes, this Venezuela was involved in narco terrorism, etc., but this evidence was not validated. Okay, and first and foremost, if you see, this particular incident of Venezuela matters a lot for your global south. Why? See, global south are countries which are post colonial countries, who are developing countries, who do not have the strength to fight against these powerful countries. They explicitly, when we tell, military guarantees are not very stronger, nor the power projection capacity is also not that strong. So what do? They rely on your international organizations, international law, your multilateral institutions, so diplomatic norms. These are the kind of things that they rely on. This is the kind of world they think, yes, we are in. But when your USA goes ahead and does something like this, it is showcasing that the unilateral force has become so normal. When USA was able to do this with so ease, then the concept of law becomes very optional. The safety and protection of these global south also comes under questioning. Now, if you say about sovereignty, what is sovereignty? That is, the country exercises control over its internal as well as external affairs without any foreign authorities' dependence. Now, the UN Charter has made it clear that there will be no use of force on another country except on self defense or on your UN Security Council authorization. But in Venezuelan case, neither self defense nor UNSCA was needed. Yet, US acted on this. Okay, so it just felt that US satisfaction was enough, not your UNSC satisfaction, or it was there any attack on US, but this US action, unilateral US action, creates a dangerous precedent that any powerful nation can do this to a smaller nation. So here sovereignty has become very much like an elective understanding. And also in your Nicaragua versus United States case in 1986, they have held that it is important to protect the post-colonial states from the intervention of powerful states. This also brings us the question of legitimacy versus legality. Powerful states argue legitimacy, whereas international law demands legality. See, first and foremost, whereas from your humanitarian perspective, if you see, they do not legalize aggression in any form. Whereas your security, that is, US is claiming, no, I have to do this for the security of my particular country. They are trying to claim that legal authorization is not something that I can wait for. Understanding? So, this is what creates a difference in the global order. Now, this Venezuelan incident creates an entire moment of reckoning for the BRICS nations. Which are your BRICS nations? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Now, for these countries, this particular issue gets directly affected. Why? Because these BRICS countries rely on global order, international organization, multilateral institutions. Understanding? They are about legal equality of states, rule based order, multilateralism, strategic autonomy for all. Now, all the things they believe in and all the things that is to protect them goes down or every when US does things like this. So unilateral interventions like the one that your USA carried out in Venezuela undermines all of these that your BRICS or the global south has as the main pillar. Now, if you see with regarding to the United Nations, the United Nations is very much constrained. UNSC is almost paralyzed with the concept of your vote versus veto. In this aspect, the veto politics is largely protecting the powerful, and it's not serving the whole point of purpose of creating something like this. So this will make it like another League of Nations. Your League of Nations whole point was created to prevent your global wars, but in its own time it had two world wars. So it became an obsolete mechanism. Same would happen to United Nations if it just keeps on ignoring or just becomes paralyzed by decision making. See, that doesn't mean that we have to evade United Nations, but we have to recontemplate. We have to bring more power into United Nations so that it doesn't lead to that. Now, if you see with respect to China's position on the shifting order, China positions itself at least as a defender of sovereignty, supporter of non intervention, and advocate of UN centrality. Your China tells that this is very much needed for China to rise. Understanding? But with increasing Western intervention, showcases that your China has to rise above these things. So it is almost feeding the intentions of China. China, first and foremost, with regarding to global south, it gains credibility by opposing the unilateral forces. It supports your procedural legality, and also this resonates with the developing states. Even though China has been accused of creating a lot of these violations itself, but overall voice, if you see, it's starting to grow louder in the global south. If you see with respect to India and BRICS states, that is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. They face certain dilemma. What dilemmas? First and foremost, they want global influence, strategic autonomy, and more importantly than anything, a rule based world order. But there is a weakened, or more like we can even put it, this United Nations is reducing their leverage. The silence is becoming more and more costly, confrontation is becoming more and more risky in order to speak out against this. Now when we say India, yes, we have seen period of bipolarity in international order, unipolarity, but now is not the time for bipolarity or unipolarity, but rather it is of multipolarity. This is the only thing that is said to bring balance. Whereas, when we are claiming that, or the member countries, especially India, is a staunch follower of multipolarity, but what the reality is showing is just hierarchy. Hierarchy of what? Power blocks will dominate, rules will be bent, the protection will shrink, and uncertainty keeps on growing. So, when you have to have multipolarity and you will have unilateral decisions, then this will just lead to chaos. If you say what are the challenges with regarding to the global south, the question arises who is going to enforce the rules and who is going to be restrained by it. Because at the end of the day, if you set up laws and if you don't follow it, then the concept of power politics or the whole point of your multicultural multilateralism itself is defeated. And this defeat creates long term instability. So, Venezuela is a warning, or it is more like a wake up call. It is not just to any Latin American country, but to the entire global south that how is this okay? And this will set a very dangerous precedent in the upcoming years. And also, this obstructs the concept of your multipolarity and goes back to your power politics. So here it is not about United Nations is not doing anything, so let us leave it. No, but it is about recommitment from all the parties. Understanding from your United Nations Charter to multilateral restraint to collective legality. So in overall, if you see for BRICS countries, that is the global south, law is an important aspect where it is not a luxury, it is very much needed for the survival of these nations. Understanding? With this, we've come to the end of the content. If you like our content, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, share it along with your friends. Thank you.